Today I'm going to walk you through a framed finish for my chicken club stitches. I have the first 3 done. I'm going to use this as the format. This is chart number 4. I haven't stitched this one yet. Let's go through my materials. Using this for an example, I'll need a frame, fabric, vintage trim, and some sticky board. I have a 3-pack of these frames. I'll link them below. My glue gun. These are silicone fingers so you don't burn yourself. I'll link this below if I can. I have my completed pieces. I have a nice selection of fabrics. These are the B Basics line from Lori Holt. If you hear a funny noise, my dog is snoring, sorry. I've got a ruler. I have my rotary cutter that I use for non-fabric things. I use this to cut the sticky board. It does get a little sticky. Cross stitch finishing dots, finishing tape, pair of scissors that I can use and I'm not worried about, sticky board, and lots of colors of vintage trim. Let's get started. Here's my helpers. The first thing we're going to do is pick out our fabric and our trim for each piece. Again, I'm using this as a guide. So 1 piece of fabric and some trim. Looking at your piece, you can decide which color you want to emphasize. When I look at this one, I think the blue would look good for a background. I've got several blues. And what you can do if you don't know what color to pick, you can always fold your piece and hold it next to the colors. I actually like both of these. I think what I'm going to do is pick the lighter blue and a dark blue trim to go with it. Let's see if I've got a dark blue trim. This is the darkest blue that I have in my collection. It's called Denim. Looking at the photo, the stitch would be on top of the trim and then on top of the fabric. Like that. That's going to look good. Let's pick some colors for the other 2 pieces. This one is Florence. I think I may go along the same lines and either pick a green or a pink. I kind of like the green and then probably a pink trim. Let's try some greens. Here she is with all of the greens. I'll pick that up. I can tell you right away, not that one. It's the wrong color green. I really like this one, and I'll show you why. Besides the color, I think the shade is really good. See the pattern in the stitching with kind of the square, and this is a nice square. Let's go with that and let's pick, I think, a pink trim. I don't want to do green and red. I have a lot of shades of pink. These 2, they're very nice. I'm going to eliminate these. I think they're too dark. Put those away. This one is a little too pale for my taste, and I feel like this one is bright and it overpowers the stitching. The color that I like is Riley Coral. I think that'll look good. That'll be the frame out for that one. Chicken number 3 is Hattie. There's a lot of pink here. I think I actually want to go with yellow and emphasize the chicks. I pulled the one yellow from the pack, the other 2 are more orange. And this Lori Holt trim, this one is called Peony. This is the light pink. I think that'll look good. On the back of the pattern, they recommend an 8x8 frame, and actually gives the exact frame. They got it on Amazon. I didn't want one this dark. I went with a frame, same size, 8x8. Sorry for the reflection. This is a LaVie home. It came in packs of 3. It's an 8x8 frame. It does have glass. I'm going to remove the glass. That first piece is going to be covered with fabric. We need a piece for our stitching. Looks like about an inch extra all the way around, 6-inch square for your stitching. Before you cut your next piece of sticky board, make sure to measure your stitching. I'm going to go ahead and measure my stitching. I'm going to go right to the top of my stitching. Here's where 6 inches falls. So if I center this, plenty of room. I have plenty of room all the way around with a 6-inch square. I'll go ahead and cut a 6-inch square off of this for my stitch piece. Got it measured on my 6, and then took away 1/2 inch. This is a 6.5 inch wide ruler, so I've got 6 by 6. Make sure your lines lined up. And I try not to go too far past the edge of the ruler here, because if you do, it's slicing into the next piece, and you want to be able to get as much as you can out of your big giant sticky board. Watch out, fingers. Holy smokes. I can see I'm going to need to trim just a couple sections. I'll go ahead and do that off camera. There's my 6-inch square. It'll fit really nice for my piece. I have plenty of room to bring my fabric around to the back. That'll look good. We've got this ready to go. Now I need to cut my background fabric to put around the first piece of sticky board. The first piece of sticky board is 8 inches square. I'd like to have at least 1 inch on all sides to fold around it. I'm going to cut a 9-inch square of this. This doesn't have to be exact. The edges are going to be folded around at the bottom of the sticky board, so you don't have to worry about having a square edge. I just want to make sure I've got a 9 by 9 piece. I just realized 9 by 9 only gives me a 1/2 inch to bring around either side. It'll be fine. Sometimes my math is flawed, what can I say? Now you'll see how to do it when your fabric's a little tight. I should have cut it 10 by 10. Here's my piece of fabric. I'm going to go ahead and iron that fold out, and then I'll show you wrapping the sticky board. You can see I've got just about a 1/2 inch on each side. It is going to be a little tight, but there's enough to bring over, and it'll be just fine. The whole thing, you know, you peel this back, the whole entire thing is sticky. The only thing I want to watch for, and keep this in mind, whoops, this fabric is grid-like. It's not directional, it doesn't matter which way it goes, but it has definite lines. So when you go to line up your sticky board, you're going to want to watch and make sure you've got it even. You know, it's not like that. Pick a spot like under the white dots and make sure it lines up. It's a little trickier because I cut my fabric a little tight. I'm going to have a look at it first and figure out how it needs to go. This one needs to go on the top of the white dot. Yeah, so I'll have to peel this and line it up kind of like that on the top of the white dot, and then I'll press it down. Got my sticky side ready. That's the bottom of the white dot, the middle of the top. I'm lining it up, then I'm checking the sides. Make sure I have enough on each side and the bottom. And again, this is a little tight because of how I cut my fabric. It looks pretty straight. I'm going to go ahead and flip it. And then what you can do is fold it over and look. It's a little crooked. If you don't push it down hard, you can go ahead and make your adjustments. It's easy enough to pick up. I think I'll line up under the blue dots a little bit. The fabric isn't completely square, and it kind of goes straight, and it's got a bit of a pull to it. I'll do just the best that I can. And then I'm going to adjust for that pull by tugging on the fabric a little bit. I like things nice, but they don't have to be perfect. It's no fun if you try to make everything perfect. The other thing is, when this goes in the frame, the little bit here and all around will be behind the frame. This does look straight. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and firmly press that down. And we'll move on to the next step. I'm going to use these two products. They're both from Fat Quarter Shop. This is the 3/4 inch cross stitch finishing dots and the 3/4 inch cross stitch finishing tape. They're double-sided, double sticky, acid-free. I use this whenever I can because I don't like burning my finger with the glue gun. So I'll use these to bring all my fabrics around to the back. The only place I'll be using the glue gun is on the front for that trim and to glue the sticky board pieces together. We're going to start with the dots, one in each corner. Sometimes they stick to the paper when you try to peel them off. You just have to be careful. And if they get wrinkled, it doesn't matter. It's the back of your piece. The tape can be wrinkled. No one's going to see it. Nobody knows. No worries. Here we go. Two more. And one more. And then we'll peel the paper off of these. See, sometimes they come up and you have to push them down. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, ideally, you'd have enough fabric to completely cover these. I didn't leave enough, but they're still going to stick to it. So I'm going to fold in my corners. I'm not doing a very good job on this one. Oh, I have a little bend in my sticky board. That's not helping. That's okay. Again, you're not going to see it. Let's fold in the corners. Grab the corner, bring it in. I'm going to pick this up and show you a close-up. I try to fold them so this is as straight up and down and straight over as I can. You can see it's not perfect. Again, it'll be fine. No worries. It's the back of your piece. The main goal is to get it attached securely, and we'll do that. Next, I'm going to take the tape and a pair of scissors that I don't mind if I cut tape with. These are Singer scissors. I got them on Amazon. And I don't have a lot of fabric. You can see the tape is thicker than the fabric. What I can do because of this, I'm going to measure my length. Go ahead and cut off the length. And I'm going to be thrifty with my tape. It won't stick to the mat. I'm not pushing it down very hard. I'm going to slice this down the middle. I'm not going to use a ruler. I'm just going to eyeball it. It'll be fine. Now I have 2 pieces of tape. There we go. It's a way to make your product go a little further too if you need that. Put those there. And then I'll make another set just like that. Just going to stick that there for a second. And we'll cut that one down the middle. We'll do the same thing. Close your blade. Piece there. piece there. And then you want to work opposing sides first. This is my tightest side. I'm going to do that side first. So I'm going to do this one, then these two. I tend to get the best results when I work it that way. Now this is tight, so I need to just make sure I get that up there. Okay, there we go. If you want, you can take a glue gun and bring in those corners and glue them down. It's going to be inside your frame. The fabric's not going to pop off, it's not going to go anywhere. Since this is going in a frame, I'm not going to worry about it. I will show you something though when I get all 4 of these done from the front. For this piece, this is fine. You can see the corners aren't totally square. You can kind of press them a little bit. That's that corner that's got the little fold in it. There we go. You can get them a little tighter if you want. But again, this one you won't see because it's going to be inside your frame. When we do the piece with our stitching, I'm going to be a little more persnickety with it. But I think this looks great. Love it. That's going to look really nice. Yeah, that'll look good. When you're getting ready to put your stitched piece on, if you want, you can measure and make sure it's centered. I tend to eyeball it. Let's do this piece next. Next we're going to do our finished cross stitch piece on the sticky board. I've lint rolled it. Lint rolled the back already. You always want to take a lint roller over it, make sure you don't have any dark threads or anything. I tend to eyeball things. When you work with the sticky board, when you first set it down, if you kind of just set it lightly, you can always turn over your piece and make adjustments. I haven't peeled it back yet. This is another thing you can do if you don't want to sit there with a ruler. That actually looks pretty good. You can kind of fold it and see if it looks centered. Looks like it might need to go over this way a little bit. You can measure. You can always measure and find the center of your piece. That's no fun. That's about 1 inch. And wow, I did good. I got about 1 inch on each side. And what I'm going to do is just put a little crease in it, just pushing it down. Push it down. You can easily tell where to place that. And then I'm going to double check the other side. I think right about there is going to look good. Oh, see, that needs to go up a little bit. Let's go ahead and move it up. That looks good. I'll double check. We'll go ahead and double check it with the ruler. About 3/4 of an inch there, and then I'm going to check with the foot. About 3/4 of an inch. Wonderful. Same thing. Just kind of make my little fold marks. Ready to go. Let's go ahead and peel this off. Ready to stick. One of the things I do when I'm putting the sticky board down, and it's easier with something like Aida, you can see the holes in the fabric, so you can line your sticky board up with the holes to make sure it's straight. Harder to do with an even weave or smaller count. Oh, I got a little squishy corner. I'm going to put that at the bottom. Not going to matter. That looks good. I'm lining up. I have to kind of stand on my tiptoes. I'm trying not to get in the way of the camera. I'm going to set that down. And I can pull so I can watch the top there and make sure my line is straight. That looks good. And then this needs to, oh, this is crooked down here. I think that's going to be fine. Let's pull and fold. Looks good to me. I like my things to look good. I think I said it before, but I am not a super perfectionist. It needs to look good, but if it's getting to the point where you're getting frustrated with the process or, you know, upset with it, either let somebody else do it or walk away, come back to it. Maybe you've got a piece that's uneven that instead of using sticky board or a frame would be better suited to a pillow or some kind of, you know, squishy finish. We're going to do the same thing we did with the fabric. Let's peel all 4 corners. And you can see I have a little extra fabric down here than I have up here. It's fine. I don't care. It's not going to bother me any. The only cause for concern would be is if I had a big piece of fabric, I would trim it down because it would affect how it would sit on this piece. But this is fine. It'll be good. There we go. Got my tape and a whole piece of tape here. I'm not going to cut these in half because I have all this extra fabric, and I'll bring it up a little bit, not so close to the board. I'm going to do the same thing, get all 4 sides. Two more. And it's a little crooked, not going to matter. I will say that sometimes I do finishing for my mom. I'm a lot more particular when I do her pieces because it's, you know, it's somebody else's. If I'm taking care of something for somebody else, making an item for someone else, I'm a lot more particular. For me, I know what my threshold is. So if I'm making something for somebody, I'm going to be extremely particular with it. Let's fold these all in. Oops, I accidentally peeled the paper. The tape came up with it. That won't matter. This piece is going to be glued onto the fabric piece. Two. The other 2. And I'm going to take just a second to clean this up and then we'll turn it around. Turned it around. Now here's where a lot of, I'm going to say personal preference comes into play. See the corner? You can just press it and tighten it. If you want, you can get your glue gun and get some glue in there. I don't. I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to look good. This one I need to fold a little bit better. Turn around to the front. Oh, that's the bent corner. That's why. Again, if you're very particular and it's going to bother you that the corners aren't completely square, get your glue gun, pull these tighter, get some glue underneath here, and press it down. It's just not going to bother me. That's the corner I missed. I will take a moment to do this though. This gets it nice and, you know, tight enough to me. That's a good looking corner. I'm going to go around one more time. Push it in a little bit more. This one's the worst because it had the bend in the sticky board. But those look good to me. This is going to get glued on here. And I did not put batting underneath this. If you want it to puff up a little bit, you could have put a piece of batting under it. I didn't want to. It looks like I'm a little closer to the bottom than the top. Guess what? It really doesn't bother me. It's going to look great when it's in the frame. What I'm going to do next is So I've got my trim. I'm going to measure it. The hardest part for this is you're going to tuck it, you're going to tuck it under your piece, and you don't want to end up seeing any of the cut edges. Sometimes it takes a little fussing for that to happen. If you look at the picture on the chart, see how they're all trimmed on the down? They all slope down as they come into the corner. We're going to see if we can manage that. It's going to depend on the size of my piece. So I'll look, here's a down. This is going down, sloping down. Oh, and here's a sloping down right here. I'm going to go ahead and cut those two there. Hold my finger on that. Watch your fingers. And then this one, I think right here. Let me double check. Down, yep, this one right here. In theory, my piece is square. The size should work for all sides of the piece. I'm just going to lay it down. I'm going to try that out. We'll lay it on top. Looks good. And then we'll just rotate. Yep. Yep. Yep, that'll work. That size will work for all sides of my piece. So you can lay it out. Figure out where to cut your next piece right here. Don't cut your finger. Here. That needs to be cut a little bit. See how it's starting to poke up? I want to trim that off. That's better, nice and clean. Right there. Okay, time to get the glue gun. This is the glue gun we'll be using today. This is a Surebonder high temperature glue gun. It is very high temperature. It gets very hot. That's why I have this handy. I also happen to have an iced beverage over here. These are the glue sticks for the Surebonder glue gun. I buy the brand that goes with the gun. While the glue gun's heating up, I'm looking at my placement of my piece. I have my fabric on nice and straight, which is great. I can line it up with the blue dots, blue dots, blue dots along the bottom, blue dots here. I'm going to use those for my marking. If I had a more, like a plain fabric, what I would do is hold it up like that, make sure it's where I wanted it, or measure, and I would just put a little mark underneath. That looks good. Now we need to figure out, we know that's where that needs to go. We need to figure out the placement of our, they call it vintage trim. I remember it as rickrack. I want to get the first one placed. And make sure it looks good. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty even. I'm going to try and hold it. Let's see if the gun's hot yet. Woo, yep, it's hot. Pull my piece away. And keep in mind that after you glue all these down, you are going to glue your piece on top. So you don't have to worry about making sure the whole thing is like really, really glued down. You just want it held in place. I'm going to fold this up and put a little piece here, a little bit of glue. Just the smallest piece. Push that down. Looks good. Now I can kind of see where this one ends. I'm going to bring that up. I think it was around here. Just a little bit again. That way if I'm off, yeah, I'm a little off, but it'll still help. It'll hold it in place. That way if you're off, you can just pull up the glue. Let's give it a try. I think it's a little crooked, I'm not sure. No, it looks pretty good. What I am noticing though is my sticky board seems a little crooked. I need to flatten that out a little bit. Let's look. Maybe not good enough for the state fair, but good enough for me. I like it. It looks good. I'm going to go through the same process on each side. Looking at it, making sure it looks good. That looks good. Hold it in place. Peel that back a little bit. Put a little glue there. If there's any oozing glue, push it towards the center because that's going to be underneath your piece and you won't see it. And pull that back. Watch your finger. A little bit of glue. They do make different tips for this glue gun. I just have the one that came with it. Looks good. Let's do the other two sides. Sorry, I think I bumped the tripod. Let's see. This is going to be a little harder. It's going to be around there. That looks good. I'm going to hold that. You can see they're just, I hope you can see that they're just barely touching each other. Let's go ahead and put a little glue down. A bird just flew by the window and made some noise. I don't know how much background noise this is picking up. My air conditioner's turning on and off. It's 103 outside, I think. If you're new to my channel, I'm in Arizona. It's June. 103 isn't even hot. We're just getting warmed up. This looks a little crooked. I'm going to pull that up. Try moving it down just a little bit. Let's see if it's straight with my piece. Ooh, it's looking good. See how the corner is covering the edges? That looks nice. Let's do the next one, the last one. A little bit of fuzz. And in theory, this should fit just like the other one. Right about over the same area. Let's double check it. Yeah, that's good. Oh, the dog is snoring again. It's in the afternoon, and in the afternoon, that's Libby who's snoring. She gets one of her epilepsy medications, and it makes her a little tired. She's sleeping with Jacqueline, and Rosie likes to sleep on the couch in the hallway and stare at the door until my husband comes home. That's her thing. Well, let's have a look. Okay, that's a little crooked. I'm going to pull that out a little bit before it gets too set. I'm just going to pull it out. That's why I didn't glue all the sides. You can make your adjustments. Oh, I like that. That looks nice. Let's see. That looks good. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and add some extra glue underneath that. I'm just going to try and be really careful and set it down correctly. Cross your fingers. Watch what you're doing, don't burn yourself. This glue is really hot. When I do projects and use the glue on wood, the wood sometimes throws off a little bit of smoke. So this stuff is hot. Get up over your piece, get a good look at it, make sure you are centered. That looks good. Let's push it down and hold it. I do notice I'm a little bit, see, that's another reason not to completely glue it down. You can actually still adjust it a bit. There we go. And once it's in the frame, oops, sorry, bumped the tripod. Nobody's going to touch it. In theory. Looks good. Let's pop it in our frame. This is what the back of these frames look like. So here's my top. You just pull these to the side. Why don't I turn off the power to that glue gun so I don't burn myself. Have to leave it out so it can cool off. And I have 2 more to do. Slide that in. And I'm going to take this little sticky note. It says Cornelius on it. And I'm going to put it inside the frame. I just need the name of the little sticky bit. That way if I ever want to go back and see which chicken is which. These chickens do come with, on the pattern, inside, I can't show it because it's part of the pattern, they do each have a little nameplate. I just didn't stitch that. I like them like this. Let's have a look. Ooh, it looks good. See? Let's check it for some glue strings. There's one. There's a couple glue strings. I don't see any more. Not always the best lighting in here. It looks great. Eventually I'll have all 12 of these stitched. I only have 3 done. I'm going to do the other 2 and I'll add their pictures at the end. Nice and easy, right? You can do this. Thumbs up.